Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about a sneaky anti-pattern that might get into your code. Now this is a difficult one and hard to spot, so it becomes very challenging to get it. It also means that you might have to spend a lot of time debugging if this enters into your code. And the other aspect is it might also affect your how other developers might perceive you because of the code that you have written around it. It also means that you might not get a job just because you might have put this kind of a code for a code review, or you might not even get challenge if on a job you might not get a challenging opportunities. So this is a very tricky one, and that's why it's hard to spot, but the consequences are really important. Now I've seen this happen to other developers, and the challenge is that most of the time you don't even get feedback on it. It just goes under the cover, so you don't even know that you have to improve on this front. So what I'll do is let's dive into the code so you can get first-hand example of this. So here's a simple example that we have. It's a booking controller which accepts the date as part of the booking request object, and then it comes confirms the appointment for the customer. And it has got a method called validate date, which validates the input that comes into the picture. Now, what I want to do is you pause this video for 5 seconds or whatever time you want and think about the problem that would happen in this particular code. Once you're ready, just resume the video and you can see the solution on the other side. So let's dive in. So this is the book appointment and we can see this validate date. So the issue you might have already guessed is in this validate date method. So in this method, what we are doing is on a certain condition, if it is before local date, what we are doing is we are setting the appointment date to null. Now, what that means is this validate date is not doing validation. It is actually going and updating the appointment date, which is not right. Yeah, because what the method should do, what it is supposed to do, it should validate, means it should validate. It should not go on updating it. That is one problem that you have in this particular code. The second problem that you can have is that you are actually mutating the input request. Now, there's a bigger problem actually. So whenever the request comes in, if it is before date, what you're doing is setting it to null. And what that does is like when the user looks at this booking confirmed and get appointment date, it will just say booking confirmed for null. You don't want the user to see that. And the other aspect is you should not be actually mutating the input request because user said, okay, I have selected a particular date and you're sending me back a null. That's not right. So these are two issues that we have. One, the issue number one is using over updating something in a validate method, because if it's a validate method which is it's only supposed to validate, it should say either your date is valid or invalid, but it should not go and update the request. The second is you should not update your own the request that you are getting. It should be immutable. Now there are scenarios where obviously under certain business condition you need to override certain values. That's completely okay, but that should not be done in this booking request object. It should be done as part of a response or other objects that you can have. And for this particular example, the possible solution could be, you're throwing back an exception saying that you cannot put a date is invalid. You cannot put a date prior to the today's date. So that way, when the user sees that exception coming back, they know that this is a problem that was with the API. So they will put a future date into it. So that's one way of doing it. Yeah, so that was a small example of one of the code smells or things that you shouldn't be doing in your own code. And as I said, the consequences are really grave, and the problem is that you might not get it in the first glance. So that's why I thought I'll highlight that. So hope you find this interesting. Now, if you really want more such insights, I do have a weekly newsletter. You can subscribe to that by clicking on the link near this post. Thank you.